Miranga na biwobe byebiri mu Palamenti y'eggwanga Uganda. Olutalo Kasiggu kafungula nkete luli eyo. Sipiika Anita Amongi atabuse. N'amasanyalaze bagasazeko ku Palamenti tewakyali masanyalaze bali mu kibululu. Ng'entabo evudde ku kutandika okuteesa General Museveni yasaze ssente za Palamenti zirina okusaasaanya. Bulijjo Palamenti balina ebajeti nga nnene kati bagitemye a half amakati gayo ne bagatwala ne balekera amakati gaba bakutandika okukozesa mu Palamenti. Ati nno Sipiika munyiivu byansusso n'aba NRM banyiivu balinga enswere enkubeko batabuse. Bagamba kati balina mugaso ki mu Palamenti banonawo ki nga omuntu gwadde balwanirira General Museveni ate yali ku nsimbi zaabwe yazitema zibalina okukozesa nga Palamenti. Okyalina okubya kutema nsimbi zaabwe n'obuyinza abo bajjeeko obuteekerateekera eggwanga Uganda. Obuyinza obw'okuyisa embalirira, obuyinza obw'okuyisa ensimbi budgets ez'enjawulo abo bajjeeko. Takyayagala berina buyinza obwo General Museveni gwe badde batembeta bawaana mbutava ku main. Kati no Sipiika Anita Amongi munyiivu. Nenga bino byonna bivudde ku buli bw'enguzi obususse mu Palamenti. Mathias Mpuga nsamba abirimu. Bamugamba lekulire yagaana. Kati nno koolo ya Kyagulanyi gy'akoze ennene ku buli bw'enguzi mu ggwanga Uganda. Museveni awedde kimukutte. Talwanyisa nguzi awagira nguzi. Kati asaza amagezi bw'ayinza okulaba nga akwata ku bantu be n'ataswala nnyo. Naye nga pressure yonna evudde ku Kyagulanyi Ssentamu. Budget ya Palamenti nesola mbe kachwa ati olutalo luli eno lunene. Leo tandise okudebatinga ku nsonga ezo z'okusala budget naye kujja ku Palamenti obuyinza obusalawo ku nsimbi na bice bikolebwa mu ggwanga Uganda. Olutandise obyogerako bwe biti. Amasanyalaze ga Palamenti ne gavaako Sipiika n'atabuka. Muzeeka amasanyalaze anajjeeko amasanyalaze lwaki mutusabotaginga bwe twogera ku bino ebikulu mu ggwanga nga mujjako amasanyalaze mugazeeko mangu ekiri eno. Katugende obyerabireko ebiri mu Palamenti obihulire.
I am sorry to come in at this particular time, but by virtue of my years I've spent here, I am having a problem. Especially Uganda as a country, we have been blessed by having brilliant people. That post of permanent secretary and PST has always been occupied by very, very high-level people. And up to now, I can tell you the late Robert Ekinu was there. The man of Governor Bank of Uganda, you remember? Kasami, Mahakanizi, and even Gobe now. But when when a PSST goes into a committee of parliament and says that we have no role to play in the budget and appropriation, it defeats my understanding. Has this country changed? Because Article 155 gives us all the powers. Few minutes ago, you were enumerating the roles we are supposed to play. Members of Parliament.
Can we first have the lights on? Why are they switching off? Because you're talking about appropriation. Can we have the lights on?
I can assure you, Madam Speaker, members have been very keen and every year in and out to attend sector committees to consider the budget. But every budget, whatever we approve, does not come to reality. And when the APS said we have no role in appropriation, I don't see why we're wasting our time going into the budget. It doesn't make sense. Because Parliament, this government is anchored on 3 pillars: Parliament, executive, and judiciary. We should be respecting each other. Every year in, whatever we say, don't spend money on this, it will be spent in the 30%. Madam's 3%. Every year in, even it have gone very far. I have seen a paper where you have said parliamentary budget will be cut by 50%. Why does such a person get powers? The minister is here, I'm happy. The minister is here, I respect you. But there is a rule that we must respect each other. Treat other people the way you want to be treated. We have been demeaned to nothing. I have been in 6th Parliament, 7th Parliament. Even the Budget Act was a private member's bill. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member and Senior. Madam Speaker, the issue of the PSST must be handled very seriously. In the Committee of Education, we summoned this man and he refused to appear. And the Honourable Minister of Finance had to ring him when we were together, he still refused. And even recently, the Committee of Park, chaired by Honourable Mwanga Chivumbi, was invited, he refused. He doesn't respect members of Parliament and committees of Parliament. And they want this to be put on record. Yet, he's the issuing officer of any funds of government. I was in the park for some time, Madam Speaker, we were together. You remember, you could never invite here the late Mahakanizi. He could appear at any time, Parliament would invite him in a committee. But Mr. Ramadan Gobi, I don't know where he gets his strength and powers from. But once you remove appropriation from Parliament, then what are we doing here? We are rendered null and void. We are not useful here. So, Madam Speaker, under your leadership, we need to take a stand, firm position on the PSST. Otherwise, it doesn't respect the Parliament. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So, thank you, colleague. I think in short, I don't know how we can handle it. I think we need an apology, a sincere apology to this House. We cannot continue coming here and be demeaned. Members are running like chicken, there's chicken, going to the committees here and there. Appropriate to see even what can come to their constituencies. Then you want to take over our powers? I think I am really constrained. Thank you.
Let me first hear from Minister of Finance. Is there some sabotage?
Right.
Honorable members, the issue that Honorable Nathan is raising is a very important issue. I want to refer you to Article 156 of the Constitution in regard to appropriation bill. And then I refer you to Section 14 of the Public Finance Management Act 2015. That is approval of annual budget by Parliament. If Parliament did not have any role in this process, then everything would be done from wherever it is done, and then we get information like any other person. But the Parliament of Uganda has 4 roles: appropriation, most importantly, oversight, representation, and legislation. So if anybody wants to take over the powers of Parliament, we got these powers here, and we must leave them here. There are no technical person should come and take over the powers that are for this Parliament. Can we hear from the chairman who was told off?
Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, this issue arose during an interaction where we were interrogating government handling of consolidated accounts. Right Honorable Speaker, let me give Parliament some facts. We noted as a Committee of Public Accounts that much as consistently government has been coming here with a budget of 52 trillion, 48 trillion, 54 trillion, we made a trend analysis for the last 5 years. And the budget actual expenditure of government, matching the revenue and expenditure, has never exceeded 45 trillion. And then we asked the PSST, What's the essence of them? You consistently coming during a budget process, presenting to a country a rosy picture of some 51, 52, 53 trillion. Well knowing not in any single year since the history of this country have you ever spent above 45 trillion. The simple understanding is they balloon the budget to 52 and gives a yield on the 3%, which they do a secondary appropriation of their own on day 1, 1st July of a financial year, disregarding a budget process. They go to the extent of
Honorable Chair, you're raising a very important issue. But first of all, we need to first understand, do we have the powers? Okay? You first leave that point.
Yeah.
We want first understand from the Minister of Finance that what is the use of you bringing your budget here when we have no powers? And you as a member of parliament, is that how you're going to allow this institution to continue being humiliated? Can we say that we are not receiving the budget because we don't have the powers? Yes.
And where the minister made the statement that we don't have the powers.
Okay.
Then later on, he accused Parliament and lawmakers, saying that the distortion from the difference between the budget framework paper and the actual budget is always a distortion of lawmakers, of decision makers. That's when then he said, you don't even enjoy those powers to do what you are doing.
Have you finished, Nathan? Nathan was still speaking.
Me, what I was saying, it is not even this financial year, every financial year. But I can tell you, the previous parliaments were on charge. And I want us to have to be in charge of doing things we're entitled to do. One single person, for example, by a committee inviting the PSST and it does not come, you know what it means? Me, I feel that we need a serious apology so that from today, we know that each particular department of government has its own duty and you cannot even usurp other people's powers.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this morning I was listening to the PSST on NBS TV. And they were discussing this matter. And what he said is that Parliament has no power of budgeting, that is an executive function. And he said that Parliament has no powers to move money from one vote to another. Because budgeting for this country is not our responsibility, that it is the executive's responsibility, and it is the executive that knows the priorities of this country. So what is our role as a parliament, Right Honorable Speaker? I thought ours is to scrutinize this budget and as the people's representative, move money where we feel that should be the focus. So if we see money being, placed in areas that are not a priority, we need roads, for example, and then we find money being placed in other things, maybe mchaka mindset change and all that. When we have no roads where to pass, when people have no water, where should we as a people's representative, what should our role be in this budgeting process? It is like the PSST is saying that we are here to rubber stamp. And in conclusion, he said we can only recommend, but we should not touch the budget once it is presented. Yes, the way it is. That was what he was referring to. So, Right Honorable Speaker, that's the information that I wanted to give Honorable Yanyim. And the challenge we have in this country is picking people who have not grown into public service and placing them into such sensitive positions. Because the PSST previously used to rise from down, move up to the undersecretary, move up until he becomes a PSST. Now, when you pick somebody from somewhere, they don't respect leaders. They don't respect people.
Honorable
Thank you, Right
members,
Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, there's a difference between formulation and consideration and approval. When you look at Article 155, the financial year estimates, when you look at one, it says the president shall cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament. Cause to be prepared and laid before Parliament in each financial year, but in any case, not less than the 15th day before the commencement of the financial year. And when you look at 155.4, it says, at any time before Parliament considers the estimates of revenue and expenditure laid before it, or by an authority, the President and Appropriation Committee of Parliament may discuss and review the estimates and make appropriate recommendations. Yes. Yours is to formulate, give us to review, make changes to Parliament and approve. Yes.
Madam Speaker, I agree with the members who have raised these matters. And I do not know the exact words the PSST used and where he made those words. But let me...
Honorable Minister of Constitutional Affairs, can we first hear from Finance? I don't want you to carry a burden which is not yours. No, I don't want you to carry a burden which is not yours. Finance.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, to the best of my knowledge and experience,
As a member of Parliament.
as a member of Parliament
And a chairperson of Finance Committee.
who worked in the Finance Committee for the
And now is a minister.
and the Budget Committee and all other related committees, to the best of my knowledge, appropriation powers rests with the Parliament.
That's why you're a very good minister.
If the PSST expressed his views and opinion, we are not privy. I am not privy to what the PSST said, but I know the PSST does not have a chance to speak on this microphone. I would like to invite colleagues to disregard what the PSST said. We should always take what we say as Minister of Finance on this microphone. If whatever he said, wherever he said so, offended a committee of Parliament or Parliament in general, I would like to apologize on his behalf.
Thank you, thank you. And even as you apologize, please pass the message to the PSST on what he said, that it is not correct. Can I have a commitment from the Minister of Constitutional Affairs that we will always protect this constitution, uphold to it, and not bring personal feelings?
Madam Speaker, there are people who have expressed contemptuous opinions of this House historically. I was in this Parliament when the late governor, having been summoned to talk about fiscal policy, said he has no time to talk about fiscal policy and monetary matters with potato growers. Yes. So this seems to be part of our society. But Madam Speaker, laws are non-negotiable. Fortunately, they are written. There's something we call contempt of parliament. You have seen how the judiciary has been very tough on those who have acted contemptuously of the institution of the judiciary. Others have even been sent to jail. You, honorable colleagues, have on occasion sent some people to the basement for misbehaving and abusing the privileges of parliament. It's not that the contempt is against you individually, but it's against the people of Uganda, because this is the only institution which represents everybody. The other ones are not as representative. This is really the people's house. So it's up to you, Madam Speaker, to draw a red line which nobody should cross without consequence, and it will be within the law. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Government Chief Whip, let's resolve this thing of the budget. For me, I am here on the budget first. Government Chief Whip, our deduction of 50%, shall we be paid salary? You even have the courtesy to put it in bold on a statutory vote. Finance. You even have a courtesy to put in bold a statutory vote that parliament should not get money. Can I hear from the government chief whip? And we need a commitment that you will always protect the institution of parliament.
Right, Honorable Speaker. In addition to laws being non-negotiable, laws are interpreted as they are. And I have addressed my mind to the provision of Chapter 9 of the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, which is on finance. When you look at Article 152 on taxation, Parliament has a responsibility. Article 153 on the Consolidated Fund, Parliament has a responsibility. Article 154 on the withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund, Parliament has a responsibility. Article 155 on the financial year's estimate, Parliament has a responsibility. Article 156 on appropriation bill, Parliament has a mandate. Article 157 on contingencies fund, Parliament has a mandate. Right, Honorable Speaker, I may have nothing useful to add, but simply to state that the laws made must be interpreted as they are, the Constitution, the Public Finance Management Act, that should be read together with the rules of procedure of Parliament. On the question of the budget, I believe that all of us, even as ministers, we are primarily paid as members of Parliament, in principle. We are paid as members of Parliament in principle. And therefore, we have an obligation. And under the same constitution, you cannot vary whatever one has been receiving to his or her disadvantage. That becomes unconstitutional under our Constitution of the Republic of Uganda. I beg to submit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Honorable Chibumbi, are you finished?
Madam Speaker, on the issue of the PSST, the minister here who has just gone out, he was talking casually And he said he's not aware of what happened, where he said it, but a member was in the Committee of Parliament. The chair of the committee is here. Madam Speaker, under our rules, there is a procedure we use to bring those people to make apologies public to the Parliament seated before you. And that's why we have those two bars. The business of this gentleman are growing day by day. I know what happened between him and Onomi Ingo in the Committee of Education about the same issue. So I don't agree, and I would beseech you, Madam Speaker, that this big man, who is the PSST, should appear before members of Parliament and he pull out the bars, he apologizes to this House. Otherwise, ministers, you have had my former president here, Nobert Mao. He was giving references of the 6th Parliament, but then we are the 11th Parliament with different members who are not there by then. But this business of continuing belittling members of Parliament by a person, I beg to move a motion that this member, the PSST, should appear in person before Parliament and apologize as the honorable member requested. Madam Speaker, I move. And the members, I request you to support me.
Honorable members, it's good the responsible minister has given an apology on behalf. And this should be the first and last. This should be the first and last. And I am also going to write. I am going to write to PSST and tell him to respect the committees of Parliament. And honorable chairs of committees, make use of Rule 208, the special powers of a committee. Make use of it. By the time we come, you will have taken an action. We wouldn't be discussing this if you had taken an action. Use your powers. Yes, Commissioner.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I listened to the Honorable Chair of the Committee of Public Accounts, Central, and I think along the way we lost a key point he was raising because he was asked to wait on his submission. Now that today we are receiving the final budget figures, he made an allusion to the fact that we receive budget figures that have no relationship with what we finally spend. He made a very critical allusion to the 3% and how it is abused, because 3% of 57 is not the same as 3% of 45.
Honorable Asaze,
I don't know whether the Minister of Finance
I hope you're getting what
is able to respond, or probably the Right Honorable Speaker ask the Honorable Chivumbi to resubmit on that very critical matter, because it's a very, very serious matter. It touches on the probity of the Minister of Finance and how it can easily mislead the Ugandans into what actually they are dealing with. Because if they lay a budget of 57, 51 trillion, yet in actual sense, we have never even utilized 50, but again, you utilize 3% of 51, there's a problem. And Right Honorable Speaker, in the same breath, probably would need to get an update as Parliament as to what became of the amendment bill to the PFMA, which was intended again to address some of these very critical matters, including the abuse of 3%. Right Honorable Speaker, if with your indulgence would allow the Honorable Chivumbi to make that point with further clarity so that the Minister of Finance can respond to Parliament.
Maybe Honorable Chivumbi could make a clarification.
Information, then because
No.
what
Honorable Asaze, this is very good for you. You need to get what members feel.
Right Honorable Speaker, as I earlier explained, we are into a budget process. We've made a trend analysis of the performance of actual revenue and actual expenditure over the last 5 years. Right Honorable Speaker, our revelation is that the budget has never performed on actual beyond the 45 trillion. Therefore, in economic modeling, which they have experts, it's imprudent of any agency for specific planning to come up consistently with a figure that is over and above your traditional performing levels. And therefore, when they come to Parliament with a budget now of 54 or 52, they are sure they will never raise revenue and actually perform beyond the 45. So what's the essence of engaging Parliament in the very elaborate process of budgeting for 52, 54 trillion, when actually they are sure they will raise around 44, 45, and that is from borrowed money and revenue collection. The whole essence of it is that they will apply the 3% on an artificial figure, which 3% will now give them around 1.5 trillion, which immediately after passing our budget, they will sit in another review. They call it repurposing. They use the word repurposing or suppressing. That's why they suppress those budgets we are talking about, and suppress and repurpose a budget and yield 1.5, where they will now take on powers of Parliament to appropriate, including items that we traditionally have rejected. So as we embark on a budget process, Right Honorable Speaker, I intend to bring here a statement on consolidated account and on treasury operations before we make the reports. But
actually, you need to unpack vote 130.
Yes, I have already, and the report is nearly ready, and I think by next week we can present that report. That report will tell us, since we have been budgeting without real impact, what is happening. But what is at critical now is this big statement here has an artificial figure, which the Minister of Finance knows he will never raise, other than raising 3%. So why do you consistently take Parliament and the country to a very rosy garden where you are sure you will never fulfill? That's the issue, Right Honorable Speaker.
There's information from Katesh.
Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, I think to resolve this matter, we need to fast track the amendment of the PFMA. Because, Madam Speaker, while we are going to listen to the budget estimates today,
What happened to
this
just a minute, let's find out what happened.
Right Honorable Speaker, today, this morning, I met a committee headed by our legal team on the PFMA. The Minister of Finance has responded. Actually, days have passed, the 60 days. They have responded on the usual letter of financial implication. But they have, in the letter they've written to you and to the clerk to Parliament, and then copied it to you and to me, is that they were lagging, they have failed to give a certificate of financial implication. By virtue of that, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm ready, even on Tuesday, to bring this amendment for the first reading.
So they brought, they wrote back after 60 days.
They wrote a letter saying the amendment has a financial implication on contingency fund. But the Solicitor General, they even wrote to the Solicitor General, tasked them to unpack and give the detail of the implication of financial implication, which they did not do. So as of now, the letter they wrote us is immaterial, and the days have passed. We can now move as Parliament and consider that amendment.
Okay, Honorable Katesh.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, the budget is a function of income and expenditure. The estimates we are going to receive today are assuming and are projecting the expected income, including revenues, including borrowing, but the source of revenue. And Madam Speaker, one of the sources, as we know, is from the tax measures that the minister is going to table at the same time. Along the way, as we consider the tax bills, this House has always looked at them, and some of them have been struck down. But when they are struck down, the estimates that would have been estimated from those measures are never revised from the budget. So this calls into the question of the way we synchronize this budgeting process. And this is why I think that the amendment of the PFMA will help us try and tie the loose ends. Because if you have a measure of the tax bills estimated to generate, say, 1 trillion, and half of them are struck down by this House, but you have already confirmed the figures of the budget, and there is no mechanism for the minister to go back and revise the budget, then it leaves us with that gap that is not closed. So I think the House needs to consider the amendments to the PFMA as quickly as possible so that we tie these loose ends and make sure that the process we are doing is credible and is meaningful. I beg to submit.
Honorable Minister of Finance, we need a certificate of financial implication on that. And if you cannot give, then we'll proceed. Because if you're saying it has a financial implication, to what extent?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, on the Public Financial Management Act amendment, I am of the opinion that we harmonize. We are also beginning to consider various amendments in the same act. Also led by Honorable Chivumbi, our colleagues here think there are areas where we need to make changes. I would like to humbly appeal to this House and its colleagues that we initiate the process of harmonization so that we come back here.
Honorable Minister, you may not even need to harmonize. I know you also want an amendment to the Public Finance Management Act. And if you know that it is in good faith, you can even take over the amendments. I mean the bill. You can take it over as government. Because now you're claiming it affects Article 93.
Madam Speaker, I do agree with you. I, however, personally believe in the first things first. Madam Speaker, considering the season we are in, can I beg that we deal with the budget? And then in July we can
I like
process.
I like the way you've taken over the House as the Speaker, but what Honorable Chivumbi is saying is very important. We need to sit down and see how we work on the Public Finance Management Act. Honorable members, in the public gallery this morning, we have students and teachers of Serenity High School from Wakiso District, represented by Honorable Wakaima. Honorable Wakaima, where are you? That's a very good boy. Honorable Wakaima, and he's a very good member of Parliament. Please bring him back. And Honorable, that one is the best. Welcoming them on behalf of the two MPs. Honorable members. Yes. Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Firstly, I want to appreciate the call to colleagues to participate in the Kawaka's birthday run. I did go with a couple of members yesterday and other leaders to purchase birthday kits. So I want to join you in rallying the members. And I'm glad you requested the government chief whip and Honorable Mao here, who is the Msaja wa Kawaka in one way or the other, to rally colleagues. So I encourage colleagues to purchase the kits and be part of the run, whose theme is a critical one this year. They're encouraging the men especially to step up in the fight against HIV and AIDS. Right Honorable Speaker, away from that, two critical issues, Right Honorable Speaker.
Somebody, you're distracting. But he says, the chairperson, Buganda Parliamentary Group says that the caucus has voted for all members of parliament. We are not going as buyers. We are going to support the cause as sponsors. We want to go as parliament and as sponsors, not to buy it. But we want to thank you for buying for us. I'm still waiting for mine to be delivered.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. That's a very welcome cause, as we are saying. Right Honorable Speaker, two critical issues. On February 29th, we were here in Parliament and KCCA casual laborers were protesting on the outside because their salaries, you did meet them and you promised to meet KCCA leaders. That meeting did happen. And Right Honorable Speaker, in that meeting, KCCA leadership committed to pay all the arrears by 6th March. Right Honorable Speaker, these casual laborers were protesting again, this time round at the KCCA offices yesterday, because today is 28th, and this money has not been paid yet, Right Honorable Speaker. These casual laborers, they've got families too. They've got children for whom to pay school fees. I don't know why we are not prioritizing this issue, because government then seems to be telling lies, because in that meeting which you chaired, they committed that on 6th March, they will pay all the arrears, but it has not happened yet. I think it would be important for this house to get feedback, because we get calls from these casual laborers. They're saying, please help us. You know, we are struggling. Our children are being sent away from school over little money. We don't know why government is refusing to take care of this issue. Hopefully they'll respond. The second and last issue, Right Honorable Speaker, is regarding the ministerial policy statements. Firstly, Rule 149, as you did allude, provides for the deadline within which the committees can process the policy statements. That's April 20th. Today, Right Honorable Speaker, you have called us to lay the alternative ministerial policy statements, for which we are ready to do. But we understand some committees are already signing reports. Members have been called and they are signing reports. The challenge with that then is the alternatives don't get to be captured, because if you're signing already, then what's the essence of the alternative ministerial policy statements? The essence was they get to be sent to the sectoral committees, they are processed as well, and value gets to be added to the ministerial policy statements. But that does not seem to be the case. And yet, we have got a bit of time for that to happen. Relatedly, some ministries, Right Honorable Speaker, when they were laying the ministerial policy statements, they only laid for some entities and not all. For example, Ministry of Finance, which we have been talking about extensively this morning, did not lay for all the entities under them. And yet their deadline already passed. We don't know what their plan is. Maybe they will share with us. But also, some ministerial policy statements were laid without estimates. And it's coming through in the various committees. In fact, some ministries have been sent away by these committees. So I think it would be good that we get some kind of guidance, Right Honorable Speaker, on how we deal with these issues, so that the committees are not struggling on their end, and yet there are critical issues to be dealt with. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. To the best of my knowledge, Finance laid all the ministerial policy statements here. And then when you look at Rule 147, the alternative policy statements, the shadow minister may submit the alternative policy statement to Parliament by 29th day of March of every year. And you have them, you're ready to submit them. And the essence of us sending these documents to the committees, sectoral committees, is for them to do scrutiny. When they scrutinize, harmonize, they will be able to interact with those institutions. Where there is need for a correction, they will do it there. And then the issue of others are writing reports, others are ready actually. I have realized some committees are ready. That's why on Tuesday we shall start receiving them. And then we send them to, to the budget committee for harmonization. Honorable members, the issue of KCCA, the money paid to these people is very little money. And if these people are demonstrating, I don't think these people even have sticks. They just walk. The other day they walked up to the gate here. I addressed them. We agreed on a way forward. I called the ED. The ED said she had started making payments. Yesterday, I had a meeting with the PSST, with the Honorable Musasisi, with the Honorable Kasaija, the Minister of Finance. He said they had released the money, the final money yesterday. I don't know, is that true or?
Madam Speaker, it is true. All the money required has been released to KCCA, and I'm sure KCCA will do the payment plan and pay all the beneficiaries.
But then also, Honorable Minister of Constitutional Affairs, much as these people were demonstrating, they were just walking, asking for their money. Did they need to tear gas and beat people like somebody was beaten? There's some picture that was moving around, how somebody was brutally handled. Was that required for? Please.
Madam Speaker, this is a human rights issue. And today we are on the order paper also to lay on table our action taken report. It's illegal to use that kind of force. First and foremost, from my own observation for the duration that I've spent in that office, I've found that the absence of regulations to the Public Order Management Act gives the police too much discretion. So we are in final stages to enact those regulations so that the discretion is reduced in order that the police do not violate the Constitution. Right now, they only use the Mother Act, and they think they have the right to give permission or to deny it. The truth of the matter is, they can only regulate. They can tell demonstrators, this is the time you can demonstrate, this is where you can demonstrate, and this is how we shall offer you protection. So the solution lies in regulations, and we are in final stages of bringing those regulations.
Honorable Minister, kindly advise your people, you cannot. Do you know how much those people suffer? They clean the streets. They are knocked very early in the morning. They have children. They are not protected. And then when they come and claim for their 150,000, they are beaten. Tear gas is applied on them. I think we need to be fair to these people. We really need to be fair to these people. The people you're beating, the women you're beating are either your mothers, your wives, your sisters. At the end of the day, we will not have voters. Those are our mothers. The other day they came and met us here in Parliament. We didn't have any gun and we were safe with those people. You don't need to treat those people like that. And KCCA must also pay these people. They must pay these people. And this business of saying it is only one company that should work. There was a letter saying Bonaba Kole. They let all of them work. Where will they get jobs if you allow only one group? Let them work. Next. Next. I am here for a specific reason. A statutory deadline.
Motion to withdraw bills.
Honorable members, as you heard before, the Minister, Dr. Muruli, Miss Honorable Muruli Mukasa, wrote a letter to me seeking for a withdrawal of the two bills. And I don't see the minister here.
Right Honorable Speaker, I have spoken to the Honorable Muruli Mukasa, the Minister of Public Service, who is unwell at the moment. And he states that despite the fact that he had given notice to withdraw two bills, the Constitutional Amendment Bill and the National Tribunal Bill, there are still consultations going with the Principal Legal Advisor of Government, the Attorney General, and that will also culminate into consulting Cabinet. Then he will come and give the final position, whether the bills will be withdrawn or not withdrawn. In the circumstances, I pray that we defer this subject. Thank you.
Honorable members, then what was the use of writing to the Speaker? What was the use of writing to the Speaker? Honorable member, Fox.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, we have rules that govern the processes of this House. Once a bill is read for the first time and committed to the committees, we have 45 days within which to handle the bill and report back to the House. Now we are in a situation where the executive says we have withdrawn a bill and we have not withdrawn a bill. There are consultations still ongoing. What do we do with our internal processes? And Right Honorable Speaker, I didn't want to use the unparliamentary word shabby, but I can't find any more polite word to describe this particular action. Is shabby, is shameful, and I think the executive owes us an apology. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you.
Right Honorable Speaker, a notice, in my humble opinion, is different from a withdrawal. The Honorable Fox is asking, what should the internal processes be? Committees kindly proceed with the bills before you.
Honorable. Honorable Government Chief Whip, I do act for and on behalf of this House. When the letter is written to me, it is written to this House. And when it is written to the House, that was the basis of us putting on the order paper. I know you as a very organized person, very, very organized. Don't allow somebody's being shabby to spoil you, because there is no other word that you can use. Government Chief Whip is a very organized person. Maybe Daga needs to advise us on this. Daga.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, it is indeed an interesting situation. My boss, the government chief whip, has made his point hard. The Minister of Public Service, the principal mover, took a decision to write to the Speaker. And like the Chief Whip has said, there are consultations ongoing. Now, what happens in the circumstances is that the Speaker, being the custodian of the rules of procedure of this House, can take a decision based on what she has in her possession. She has both the bills and the letter communicating an intent or intention to withdraw. If, please, let me speak. Right Honorable Speaker, in the premises, if the mover of the bill, the Minister of Public Service, is done with consulting us, the Office of the Attorney General, and if a final decision is taken to have the bills withdrawn, he will come physically and do so. Be that as it may, the Speaker is the custodian of the rules. You take the decision. Thank you.
So I should take the decision to withdraw the bill? Honorable members, let's for once take this House seriously. If you feel you're not ready for rationalization, for us as a House, we are ready. If you are not ready for rationalization, for us, we are ready. I don't know why you're withdrawing your bills, you bring and you withdraw. So if you're withdrawing the bill, again you say, I'm writing another letter to cancel the original one. Cancel Mutembule. Let me first hear from the chairman legal.
Thank
who
you
is
very much.
handling the bill.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we don't want to be seen that we are such a lazy committee. When such ping-pong things begin. We are aware of what has happened to legal aid caused by the same Office of Attorney General. Again, it has started. Madam Speaker, the bills are before us as a committee. And unless we get a directive from the Speaker to stop us from proceeding, we shall proceed and give our report. Whether good or bad, it will be our report. Madam Speaker, we feel that's what we should do so that we don't have any backlog as far as our committee is concerned. That is our position as a committee.
Honorable Chair of Legal and the Committee of Legal, continue with the report and bring it as it is, good or bad, whichever. Next item. Honorable members, in the public gallery this morning, we have Students Guild Council of Al-Mashafa Islamic College from Wakiso District, represented by none other than Honorable Medad Lubega Segona.
Muwulidde ebiri mu Palamenti ebifaayo abakutta ku kittavu kyabwe kati bayomba balwana bakyakyala babuukabuuka badde eno badde eri nti muleke ensimbi zaffe muleke ekittavu kyaffe n'obuyinza bwabwe babukwatako babutiginyula abo bajjeko obwegabira ensimbi obugabira ebitongole ensimbi gino Museveni abeere ng'omupiira agumalira eri ate nno olyoka owulira embaga. Chief Mubbi ajja kuba kadino babbi. abadde babbira eno kati ayagala bajjako buyinza abeere nga yabba yekka bano nga tebakyabba alaba kulaakulana nabo kati agamba wano waliwo luzinensi bano bagaggawala batya nze kandi n'okuba omugagga n'ensimbi wano kati chief mubbi ayagala obubbi aweze ye nga ye buli kintu kibeere ng'ekikwatagana n'ebyensimbi mu ggwanga Uganda kikolebwako mu State House awo nno bwe tulaga ate bano abaka ba NRM bataabe bagezigezi Jeno Museveni eggwanga lina litwala bwatyo nga beefuula bayungwe nga bwatwala obuyinza beefuula bayungwe bwatwala obuyinza beefuula bayungwe bwatwala obuyinza ekinavaamu nga Palamenti ekyaliwo anti kati mubanga temukyalina mulimu gwe mukola tonjasobola ku appropriatinga money eri abantu oba eri ebitongole oba eri ensonga yonna then munaamukola ki tosobola ku accountingira oba ku monitoringa kyotateekamu sente obuyinza obaako obumonitoringa nga gwoteekamu sente money kitegeeza Museveni wala nga yatandise oku appropriatinga money mu bintu ebyenjawulo yajja kuba n'obuyinza obufollowinga up emirimu egyo gikolebwa tegikolebwa kiba kitegeeza temukyalina mirimu nga mulyamu nga mulima ebijanjaalo nga mulya bujju mbagala nnyo mwenna abaliko Omukama Katonda nsaba bankuumire tujja kuba tuddamu tugambe ebigambo wana bakkiriza Donald Mugereka batayi mweraba